All right, good evening, race fans, and welcome. I'll tell you what, we got a good one here tonight. We're back with the majors here, 2020, and for the Sportsman Series. Well, you know, the last time we were way over in the U.S. at Rockingham, which was a wild one. Now we're kind of across seas here to the Netherlands. Say it right, because I always say it kind of wrong, but we got a cool one here. We got some front-wheel drive kind of road racing style, and well, myself and John up here. John, what do you think about this technical style track of Zandvoort?
Zandvoort.
That's right. I don't know why I want to say it the other way. Zandvoort, my bad. Sorry for everybody out there, my bad.
This is going to be fun. I've been around this track in some other cars. Did some practice earlier in this car to see what it was like, and I wasn't very good at it. So hopefully these guys are a lot better than I was, and I'm sure they are. Watching them get their practice in now, and their practice times are a lot better than mine. So it's a track. It's got a lot of fast areas to it. You know, some sweeping turns where you're going to carry a lot of speed. But then you got those, really sharp turns. Like turn one, where you've got to get that thing slowed down and try to get through that turn there. So should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, you're right. And well, we're going to have one of the gentlemen here from the majors step up here, John King. He's one of the road race experts here. He's going to come up here in the booth with us, give us a little insight and information here soon. But winding down practice, got about a couple minutes left here, folks, before we jump over to the race. Like I said, they call these the Audi RMS cars, and they're front-wheel drive. A little technical insight on them. It's kind of cool. It's one of the newer style cars that iRacing's had. They brought it out last year. Really fun, but I like what he said. You know, all these racetracks, the road tracks, have names to turns. I don't know all of them, but the first turn, John told us here, is called Tarzan. So don't start yelling like Tarzan when they go off in turn one, okay?
I will try to contain the excitement.
There we go. Awesome. Man, right now practicing looks pretty good. What some of the insight we got from King there was very hard place to pass. Just by looking at the layout, and folks, y'all can see it right there. This I would consider more of a, there's some road tracks that I call that are technical style tracks, and then there's all road tracks are, but there's more so than others. And the two famous ones we know of, John, obviously, the NASCAR guys, race on with, three of them now, but really, two of them out there with the Watkins Glen and the other one, off the top of my head.
Sonoma.
There you go. Appreciate it. Thank you. Hey, getting old. With that one, I would, the difference between those two tracks is Sonoma would be a little bit more technical than what Watkins Glen was. Watkins Glen has more longer straights, a little bit more of a momentum style track, and has that. Here, you're going to see a lot of turns, a lot of elevations, a lot of gear changing. So that's where I get into the technical side, is like we're about to grid these boys up here, and man, I tell you what, good field here to start this one out.
Yeah, the start's going to be exciting. As John was explaining to us, they do a stand-in start. So as soon as they get the green light, you drop the clutch and go, and there's a certain way to do that in these cars. And you got to get it right, or you're just going to sit there and spin and lose a ton of spots. So the start, very critical here, very important that they get this thing right as soon as the light goes green.
And we're going to have two races tonight, folks, just to let y'all know. So we will switch servers here soon. It's going to be 25 laps here for the first one. It's getting set here for the green, so hang on to your popcorn and drinks and all. Here we go. It's lighting up, so we'll see what these guys do. The green flag flies. Everybody looks like they got a pretty good jump. They're going to head off into turn one. Man, this is where it gets tricky.
Yeah, it definitely does. You see them. They're three wide back here fighting for spots, trying to get through this corner. So everybody gets through there very cleanly.
Yeah, got a couple guys went into the grass back in the back, had to cut the corner, and obviously in road racing, if you cut the corners here, you're definitely going to you have to give that spot up because you get a time penalty. Right now, boy, these starts are all bunched up. You got old David out front right there with Daniel Johnson. They're all single file. You got to kind of go back a little further. Remember what old King said, really hard to pass here at this place, so guys are going to have to try to muster up what they can.
Yeah, passure's very difficult. You don't want to lose time to the guy in front of you, but you want to stay with him so you can try to set him up in the next turn or coming out of the straight. You want to have that good exit where you carry all that speed down the straightaway. But very hard here. You got to pick your spots very wisely.
Absolutely. Right now, everybody kind of getting spread out. Got Gustavo right there hanging on 11th place. Lucas in the back. A lot of these names we know from the past several races we've done so far here in the series with the Sportsman. Folks, the major series of Sportsman, I want to appreciate everybody tuning in. It's a good one so far. Got a couple guys off of the pace here. Let's go back on the replay. Well, we got a few of them, man, off the pace back here. Like Nathan. Now, there's no caution, so I'm going to have to keep up with what's going on here. And it looks like he just went off in contact between those two back there. That's between Nathan Medina. Hope I said that right. Medina. Okay. See what happened with Dale Green right here, too, because he actually had a wreck also. Again, like I say, with road racing, there is no cautions. So it looks like he just went into the turn too hard, got heavy on the braking, ran right into the back end of the machine. Him and Steven got together. On a few replays here, John, on what's happening in the back there. Little tattletale needle over here tells me what the Austin out there in the chat. He said, well, that one was bad. Yeah, that didn't look too good.
Yeah, watching these guys up front, we've got a 4-car battle right now going on. But guys being real patient with each other here, but looks like they're catching up. Daniel Johnson right now sitting in second place behind David Garago Jr. Setting the pace out here, but really all four of these guys are turning about the same times. Now we've got a battle for second, and he gets it.
I saw that, man. I tell you what, did you see that? He just got in there, and King told us right there, so hard to pass, and well, he did say it was almost like with the NASCAR style. Sometimes they're gonna get out here beating and bang with these things.
Yeah, he really did. He was trying to overtake right there, but that's a super sharp turn to be doing that in. And obviously didn't have much help from the guy on the outside of the corner there, trying to pinch him down, make it tough on him to get the drive off, but just forced it in there, made it.
Absolutely not. Well, looks like Nathan back off the track again. Let's see what happened to him here on the replay. He's way back off the pace, too. Way back at 20. Oh, he just slams and just tore the wall apart. Ouch. Done.
Oh, and the leader gets loose coming out of the turn there. And he give up a little bit of time here to second place to Zach Brown. Zach's doing a great job, though. He kind of made it, forced the issue back there earlier, but right now making up time on the leader.
With these things being front-wheel drive like they are, you'd think that they would have a lot more grip, but looks like, man, that rear end and stuff, I think braking is the biggest thing with these cars right now we're seeing. Man, our leader right now, David, he's definitely spreading it out just a little bit over the second place man there, Zachary Brown. Pretty good. You got Joshua Allen sitting in third, Brian Hollick there in fourth, and Mark Stevenson up to fifth place. And like you said, everybody's kind of single file all the way to the back. But I'll tell you what, Lucas got a nice looking paint job. I like that paint job. He's sporting his that's that what do they call it, the chrome or
oh no, wow, the leader gets loose. Getting passed now by Zach.
Oh yeah, he did, didn't he? And I mean, right now, I think that's probably the best way that you're going to pass somebody is trouble. Is if you see somebody with trouble out there.
I kind of noticed the last couple corners that David, when he would go on entry, the rear end was going to look like it wanted to come around on him. So I don't know if that's, in his setup there, or if he was just trying to be a little more aggressive, maybe thinking the tires are coming to him. But the last couple corners, I noticed that it's almost like he was like if you use a handbrake and kick the rear end around. The problem is you're not getting any drive from those rear tires, so it's not going to help very much.
No, you're not. I mean, like I say, we go back to the point of this is a front wheel drive style car. So all your weight sitting on that front end. So a lot of times when you do your setup, and these are open style setups, from my knowledge, they are. Right there. Let you know that because I'm looking at the stats. So pretty race is here. Also, anybody out there in the chat can help me out on that too. And I am looking here. We've got. As far as weather-wise goes, they're going to use the 70 degrees here in the afternoons type sky. They're running, dynamic weather. So that's something that's definitely going to be 25 laps is what they're going to do or 22 laps, excuse me, for race 1. And then it's going to actually be 25 laps for race number 2. Don't have, no green, white checkers, stand and start, no cautions, full cautions or anything like that are on. Also, the charity, too,
I'll tell
John.
you a secret.
What's that?
John King is in here, and he'll answer all of your questions.
Well, let me shout out this. All right, let me shout out this charity right fast. The Children's Hospital. I hope I say the first name. Maybe John King here could help me out. Lavina Children's Hospital charity that we're going to here. Oh, awesome!
I'd have to look it up, but I think it's the Latvian.
Okay, awesome.
What we do every year is we have an end of year race for the top guys and the guys that run all the rounds, and the top 10 in that or so get to choose what charities we support for the next year. So I guess this was chosen by someone from Eastern Europe for where he finished in the race last year.
Nice. Well, King, let me ask you a question right fast. We've already seen some exciting stuff happening on the track, and like you pointed out earlier, hard to pass here. Already seen some guys doing some dive bombs, trying to get around, most notably up front there, got a little contact. But, John there mentioned the leader looked like the rear end coming out. I'm going to take that these are open style setups. These guys do their setups, but with them being front wheel drive cars, I was going to say, if so, more of your setup's got to work on trying to get downforce to those rear wheels. What do you think?
Yeah, there's actually not much you can do with the setup here, and all you can try and do is get the car reasonably well balanced. But a lot of it is about driving style. So you need to be patient with the car and get it pointed in the right direction before you use too much throttle. And you need to make sure you don't overheat the tires. So what you're likely to see is that the guys that are driving really hard now are going to suffer towards the end of the races.
I got you. All right, well, that's pretty much what the leader up front. He just got past there. David, who was out front with Zachary Brown's taking it over. They're kind of single file and they're out the field just looking. Like I said, we've got a few bunches bunched up here. And, well, Tarzan, the first turn, like you said there, King, it looked pretty good. They were 3 wide. They all went in there just to yelling.
Yeah, it's great. The first few laps here are crazy. One guy to watch in this is Gustavo. He's in 7th place at the moment. I think he was 11th or 12th on the grid, so he's made good progress. He's a real drive expert. He races the VW Jetta a lot on the iRacing service, and so he's really good in front-wheel drive cars. He didn't qualify in time to get into the top 10, but he should be very good in these cars. So it'll be worth just keeping an eye on him.
What does he got to do where he's sitting at right now? He's in 7th, and you mentioned it's hard to pass. I mean, right now it looks like he's kind of at a stalemate there, racing around Matt.
Yeah,
trying to get around him. What's he got to do?
It looks like he needs to get past Matt and then just settle down and see if he can chip into the gap ahead of him. He's already quite a way behind. But honestly, if people up front have push their cars too hard in the early stages, they could lose a second and a half a lap towards the end of the race, no problem at all. So it's not over.
You know, the biggest thing I always talk about road racing is we see the gaps there, and you know, between the two leaders is only about a half a second, but even back there with Gustavo, he might be 12 seconds back, but even if you go back to like fourth place with 3, I've always said with road racing, now in NASCAR, when we look at those numbers, that's an eternity almost. But in road racing, like what you just said it right there, King. It only takes a turn, maybe 2 turns, and you could make up seconds real easily here.
Yeah. Yeah, Gustavo is probably already too far behind to win this race, but you know, he could get up into the top 3 or 4 but he needs to get past Matt. It looks like Matt's holding him up big time.
Yeah, and you know, we talk about it too. You know, like you said, it's a discipline style form of racing, and you know, hey John, you even know that. I mean, you've run some road races. I love road racing. I've run it a lot in the past, and it's a discipline style racing. They call it gentleman's racing. You know, you got to have a little respect out there on it, because you're really a lot of times driving the track more so than the competitor. You're trying to get around him, and you know, watching Gustavo right there. And you see him, he's kind of searching around, trying to see, but not a lot of places, like you said, to make that move.
Yeah, this is a difficult track to pass on at the best of times, and particularly in these cars. And Gustavo is, you know, he can be reasonably aggressive, but you know, the whole team, including Gustavo, don't like making contact with people unless we really have to. So he'll look for a nice way of passing before he gets his elbows polished up.
Well, up front, though, I tell you what, Zachary Brown's got company. David, who was leading this thing, he put it on pole before there and was out front and got past, messed up just a little bit. He's climbed back up there and chewing on the back end of Zachary there for the moment.
And David got right to Zach's bumper there through the first half of the track here, and you'll see that again. David's going to make up some time here probably on the first place car, but then out of the last couple corners, Zach was able to pull away from him. But right here through these turns, David made up an enormous amount of time the previous lap, and in the spot where they are right now. But looks like Zach got out of that turn a lot cleaner and faster this past time.
Yeah, to make a good pass into turn 1, you need to be right on the bumper of the car in front of you coming off the last turn, and then you can slipstream past them. But if you're more than 2/10 behind, you're probably not going to make it. The slipstream effect in these cars isn't very high.
Yeah, you can see David's right on his bumper. Still, this is the part of the track I thought last lap David was going to try to force the issue and make a move here in this turn, and he didn't. But he gets right back to the bumper again. So they're also putting down really good times. They're 147.1 their previous lap, and the leader put down a 147.2. So these guys keep swapping fastest laps back and forth here.
Joshua
yeah,
was in third too.
With the position that they're in, they can afford. David can afford to be a little bit patient because they've got a decent gap on Joshua in third, and there's still plenty of laps to go. So David can wait and explore where he might be able to get by, but he won't really send it until the last few laps, I don't think.
A good run right there, like you said, but the top 2 guys, and that put Zachary out front for the moment, holding up there. David sitting in second. Like I said, Joshua was sitting in third, Mark up in fourth, Brian Hall up there in fifth. Well, folks, we're here tonight for the Major Series, the Sportsman's here class of 2020. And it's a good one here with the Audi cars here. I almost hope I say this right. Standard Ford. How's that? That sounded a little bit
That's
better.
pretty good.
All right, good deal.
That was much better.
That's much better. All right, good deal. Well, appreciate everybody tuning in here. And if you're interested in tuning in to the Pro Series, because I tell you what, the Major Series, I say it all the time, it is a class of racing that they have throughout the series here. They have multiple splits that run, but they do have some Pro Series running. Check out the GSRC over on YouTube, Race Spot on YouTube, and I think it's Sim Speed TV on YouTube also. Check those guys out. They're running the top tier split for this in the Major Series. So if you're interested in seeing what the pros are up to, these are the sportsman class here. And again, I want to appreciate these guys here at the Majors letting us here at the OnlineSimRacingNetwork.com bring it to you. Good race so far. It's been a good series. Like I said, last time we were here, we were over at the States at Rockingham, oval style racing, and now we're across the pond over here on some road racing.
Yeah, and just the sportsman guys are still pretty good drivers, so it's not like these are really poor drivers. These guys are good as well. The pros are just a little bit quicker.
We got a battle for the lead side by side down into turn one here. But David can't get around him. Gets patient, slides back behind.
This is the last corners. David's got a really, really good run here. If he can stick like this, he might make a pass. Yeah, he's gonna have Zach.
That was close right there.
Yeah, Zach's gone defensive though.
Yeah, it looked like Zach was able to hold off that charge there by David. Now, again, you mentioned earlier there, King, about the tires, and I think, David, he was on the side there. He got along the side of him, but wasn't able to make that pass clean. Like you said, don't want to give up too much track position, don't want to give up and use up the tires. I'm going to say that they can go the whole distance without stopping. Am I correct on that?
Yeah. No pit stops in this race.
Okay.
So
all right.
Not unless something happens to you.
Well, Joshua Allen just got passed by Mark. Not sure if he might have slipped up on a part of the track, didn't sit behind him, but Mark Stevenson was able to get around him for third place there as Joshua now falls back to fourth. He was up to third there for a moment. So maybe some guys like what you were talking about, tire wear could become a factor. I mean, it's going to become a factor before 22 laps in, because you've got to, and the things I looked at in the past with road racing, if you go long enough for a pit stops are very crucial. That is probably one thing there, King and John, that I know we really haven't really talked much about on road racing, but to me, not only, setups and all that, but you probably work on your pit stops also just as much in road racing than you do anything on the track.
We certainly work on the pit strategy, not so much the pit stop speed.
Yeah.
But the time that the point at which you make pit stops is always important in the longer races, and whether you take fresh tires or not, whether you need to, is really important as well, because that in most cars that adds 15-20 seconds onto a pit stop.
Yes, yeah, and there you go. That's a better word to use. The pit strategy is when you actually want to pit, when you need to pit. How long can you go on a set of tires, and what the strategy is. But I'll tell you what, let's go back here to Gustavo, Matt, Robert, and them, because boy, you got a gaggle of machines back here. They're all bunched up now, so I think we're starting to see guys that are better at the long, got their car set up for a better long run.
Yeah, I think Gustavo's probably been really pressurizing Matt, and Matt's probably had to be a bit defensive, so it's slowed them both down, and it's allowed a group of cars to catch them up.
Well, John, what you
Gustavo really needs to get by here.
Yeah, he's been behind him for it's been the last several laps now. But John, tell you what, man, what you seeing out here? Anything? You said you've been road racing this week and the past several weeks now, and anything you would do a little different on the track?
I have to say, I like what David is doing in place. I don't think that David is really pushing the issue here. I think what he's actually doing is he's trying to see where Zach is weaker at, and he could take advantage of that. He's backed up a little bit to cool his tires off. He went for the run, trying to take first place, And I think now, instead of forcing it like he did earlier, he fell back behind him, and now he's just being patient because we've still got a long way to go. And he's just seeing where is he weaker at, and when can I take advantage of that. And I think
Yeah,
really he's just measuring him up.
yeah. I think that would be the right tactics for him. Just sit behind him, push him as hard as you can to try and make Zach use up his tires. But just look to see where he might be able to make an aggressive move later in the race.
Definitely want to
Yeah.
keep him honest up front. I mean, and that's the biggest thing. While we were watching that too, Robert Power and Rob Power and Robert back here, they actually made a swap for position. So those cars back there still kind of nose to tail.
And the one question that I have is, do you see a lot of tire fall off in these cars, or is it only if you push it too hard? Because first and second place, their fall off has not been, that great. It's been pretty consistent lap.
Yeah, you'll start seeing fall off from about lap 15 onwards, and it'll be more severe in the second race. The conditions in this first race are early morning, so the track is quite cool. The second race is later in the day, so the track's hotter and you'll slide the car more. So you'll see a little bit more drop off. But yeah, the really, really good people, you won't see much drop off, maybe half a second. But the guys that have pushed their tires hard, they'll drop by maybe a second and a half a lap.
Yeah, I'm looking at David's times. His fastest lap was lap 6 with a 1 minute 46.73. His last lap was a 147.27. So not much fall off there. And both the guys up front just pretty much swapping back and forth, a 10th faster here. And then the next lap, the other guy's a 10th.
Well, just had a wreck on the back here. Daniel B. Johnson just slapped the wall, got in almost another machine, came right there as soon as he was backing up on the track. Just showed the replay there for some viewers. But, yeah, unfortunately, a little contact coming out of the turn. Daniel paid the price for it as he came out of the turn there and hit the inside wall hard.
Oh, yeah, that would have hurt.
Yeah, we've seen a couple of them earlier on, a couple guys up front there and some guys in the back throughout. Had a big one earlier. Just guys trying to make positions. Looks like a lot of them, like what you mentioned earlier there, King, trying to get those passes going into the turn and then just contact while you're going into that turn. Just no room.
Yeah, I think we might see a little bit of contact up front if David gets to the back bumper of Zach again. He's caught him twice now, and Zach's just not giving the spot up there. And I was surprised. David pushed on him just a little bit, but not enough to get him out of shape. And I'm wondering how much longer he's going to let that happen, let Zach kind of pull down and take that line away.
Well, I don't know if King here really, he probably knows the term, John. We know it very well. Rubbin's racing and in NASCAR, the style. We see a lot of it. You don't see a lot of it in road racing, so to speak. It happens, sure, but it is frowned upon because, again, I go back to it's more of a gentleman style race, and you try to make those passes clean.
Yeah, so touring car racing is rubbing is much more acceptable in this than in most forms of road racing. These are pretty strong cars, and a little bit of side-to-side contact is fine with them. So you'll often, in the real life races, you'll often see the cars in the races with no side mirrors and things like that because they've been rubbing against each other during the race.
And those V8 supercars, those guys get out there and rub a lot. I do know that a GT3 or LMP style cars, yeah, they don't really get out there and mess too much with those. It happens when you go into a turn or something, but a lot of times you're not going to see those guys going up there rubbing. But yeah, I know the V8 supercars, to name one of them, those guys get up there and wow, it's amazing sometimes that they got fenders left on them.
Yeah, the the V8 supercars are, net road racing versions of NASCAR cars almost.
Yes.
They rub each other a lot.
You know, and speak of those, man, we're coming to Bathurst this year for the 2020 majors and the Sportsman, and we're going to be seeing some of those cars run.
No, it's so the Bathurst Supercar race is a permanent fixture on the major schedule. We go there every year. It's one of the real prime races that we never take off the calendar.
Yeah, and you know, I just noticed that, and I know one that I don't know how familiar you are there, King, but I know John here is really looking forward to it. We got a dirt race coming up too, so Knoxville Nationals, I believe it is, and I know John's looking he's looking real forward to that one. Yeah.
Yeah, we have one dirt race every year, so either the Knoxville Nationals or something along those lines. One of the really big dirt events. We have one every year. Personally, I hate them. I'm pathetic at
Don't feel bad. I am too.
I'm pretty good on a nice clean track by myself, but once the track ruts up and there's other cars on the track, I am just terrible. Really terrible.
You're one of those. You're great by yourself, not so great around other people. That's
yeah, like in the last 2 years, I've qualified well, and the format's different in those races as well. We run heats and then different alphabet mains, and I always say to the team, if I can get straight through to the A main from the heat, then I'll be okay. But if I don't, there's no chance of me getting through the other mains, because the track's rutted up by that stage, and I'm just terrible. And I think both years I've been in a qualifying position in the heat and got spun by someone, and then made no progress in the C main or D main or whatever the hell it was.
Alphabet soup. That's what a lot of guys on the dirt track side call it now. So I tell you what, Zachary Brown's still holding it. Man, we're getting to the closing laps here. We're at lap 15 here, 22.
Yeah, it's go
Zach
time.
has done a terrific job, but the one thing I did notice was David coming down the long front stretch after the start-finish line, went really up high trying to arc his way down in there. The hardest that I've seen, and got right to the bumper, and Zach was able to pull away. So it seems like David's running really consistent times. He's consistently faster than Zach. His lap times are about a tenth faster. So David's getting through these turns a lot better, carrying some more speed here. So I'm looking to see David make a move here in the next lap or two, as I think riding behind Zach, he's had about enough of it.
Closing in on him there a little bit.
Definitely go time for David now. He needs to start figuring out a way he can get by.
Yeah, I mean, he's got enough distance right there because they pulled away from Mark, who he's about 2 seconds behind the leader. But again, we say that if those two get up there and start racing side by side for any period of time, and a little contact can slow them up, 2 seconds can be wiped out in one turn.
Yeah. And I think Mark's actually been closing the gap a little. I think the gap was up to 2.5 seconds or so. So Mark's actually been closing it down slightly.
Yeah, it's right on 2 seconds right now. Staying about 2, 2-1, 2-2 as they go into the turns there. But, yeah, staying around about that 2 second mark.
Yeah, he was actually 0.2 faster than David, the second place car at that time. But Zach Brown pulled a 1:47.5, so he was the fastest of our front three there. There's a big gap after third place, so really just comes down to these 2 or 3 guys up front here. If the top two get into each other, maybe Mark can shoot the gap and get lucky here.
And real quick, I know we're watching those top two, but I tell you what, it's going to be interesting what's going to happen back here around where Gustavo and them, Robert and Rob are, because you've got a slew of machines right there, kind of nose to tail. Is any one of those guys going to take a wild move and try to make some passing?
Yeah, it looks like Gustavo used up a bit too much tire early in the race when he was trying to make up ground, and he's suffering now. So he's dropped back a little bit from Matt, and he's got a big queue of cars behind him.
Oh, we just had contact up front. The leaders, Zach and David here, they were both side by side, and then going into the turn, David got into the left corner of Zach and got him a little bit out of shape. Actually lifted, let him fix himself. He went through the grass and let Zach have his position back.
Good sportsmanship there. Well, they're coming up on a lap car, so this could be interesting because this might be David's opportunity to maybe pit that lap car and see if he can't, because he's closing in on the back end of Zachary. I'm with you guys. I think David right now is...
David's fast.
He is
Mark
fast.
is making up a ton of positions here.
Not Zach.
Yeah, Mark has made up a ton of time here on these guys, and especially with the incident that happened there. So this is Mark's chance to really push it now and try to get around David and get up there and see if he can catch up with Zach. But Mark's times right now have been terrific, as it seems like he's taking really good care of his tires over the run here. But it's definitely time for him to try to go and see what he can do here. But David's giving him a hard time right there, little block.
Oh, yeah, that was close. He could have probably pushed him through that turn and maybe it up. But you're right. You got to look out for Mark right there. He is up to 1.4 seconds behind him. But the battle's on for the lead here. It's go time. If you're Zach, guys, what do you got to do? Do you just protect everything on the track at this moment?
Well, Zach's in good shape at the moment because he's got a little bit of a gap, much bigger gap than he's had all through the race. And of course, Mark is Zach's teammate. So the more Mark can arrest David, the less chance there is of David catching and doing anything about Zach.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
My bad. I was looking at the wrong ones there.
Yeah, I think this is what David did not want. I think that's why he was pushing so hard to get around Zach. And then they had that little incident there. And David is probably a little frustrated. And now he wants to catch the guy up front who's been blocking him and giving him a little bit of a hard time. Now he's got Mark behind him, harassing him, trying to get around him. So he's in the middle of a sandwich that he doesn't want to be. And he wanted to be up front by now and could have been. He was a little faster at the time, but I think a little incident now and maybe some frustrated driving is making him fall back into the clutches of Mark here.
And get down to the closing laps here, too, of this one for race number 1, and race number 2 will be shortly after, so stay tuned here, and we'll definitely be bringing that to you. But, man, the battle's heating up here for a second there. My bad, I was talking about battle heating up for the lead. But, yeah, right, Zachary right now, he's got a little breathing room, so he can maybe race his own thing here as David back there's got to contest with Mark. Oh, and Gustavo off the track. Go back and watch a replay on see what happened to Gustavo. That he went off track, came back on. Watching the replay here, let the viewers see kind of maybe what happened to him out here. Got a feeling it happened right here in this turn. Oh, he just went into the turn, just lost it. Yep, right through the grass. Almost made contact, a little bit of contact right there, but should have gave him a slowdown penalty, if I'm not mistaken. That something they have on this track?
Very rarely. I think only on the second last turn there's a slowdown. Maybe if you really cut the chicane as well. But this is one of the oldest tracks on the iRacing service, and they tend not to. The older tracks tend not to have slowdown penalties.
Oh, okay. Well, that hurt. Like you said, you mentioned it earlier there, King. It looks like the tires went away, and that's pretty much he just overdrove that turn and went right off into the grass there. So Gustavo trying to push that car, but Matt right now has lost some ground to David, who is trying to run our leader, Zachary, back down here. He's running out of time as we only got a couple laps left.
Yeah,
David's pace is still
was
really good. He's catching Zach, but it's probably too little too late.
David has been pretty far behind Zach before, and the next thing you know, he's right up to his bumper again. So, I mean, watching them, I have no clue how he's doing it, because it doesn't look like Zach is really messing up at all as he goes around. Very good job by Zach so far, being very smooth, good consistent lap times, and somehow David finds his way back up there to the bumper. So it'll be interesting if he can get to the bumper, what he does once he gets there.
Yes, that will be the tale of tales. If he can get there, what is he going to do? Is he going to try to at least make an aggressive move? Is he going to be content with staying in second? Only about a couple more to go. Is he going to cross the start-finish line here? Man, it's heating up front.
Yeah, I think if he gets half a chance, he's going to lick the stamp and send it.
Well, now Mark's trying to pull it back up there, too. He's going to send it. I like that. He's going to send it. Well, he's rode behind him all race long, and obviously I think it's going to have to be a last lap setup here, but we're getting close to a 3-car battle because now Mark looks like he's pushing the envelope, trying to get up there with him.
Yeah, the fastest of those three was David in second place with a 1:48.1. Mark had a 3. Leader had a 1:48.4. So David's done a great job again of catching the leader. The problem is every time he catches Zach, he just cannot get a...
No, he can't. So here we go. When they come around, they'll get the white flag for one more time. And look at David right there pull up on the back end of Zachary. Zach looks like he is better coming out of the turns. He gets a good run. David looks like he's good going into those turns. So he's probably pushing it. Got that car set up to be able to brake later into the turns. But just getting that momentum coming out, it's just not been able to get the power back down.
Yeah, it's the one thing that I've noticed over the last couple of laps and watching David make up his time. He's been able to make it up, but then the problem is when he gets there, he's really overdriving the entry and losing his exit speed, where Zach is just staying pretty smooth throughout. He may give up a little bit here and there in some turns, but he's just staying true to the way he wants to drive, through the corner, on the track, and David hadn't been able to do anything with it.
Yeah, there's two ways to drive it, like we just said right there. You can be aggressive going in, brake late into the turn, or you can back your turn up, kind of letting it kind of roll in and brake a lot earlier and get back into the throttle a lot sooner. That'll able you to get the momentum coming out of the turn. I used to love driving like that when I did. It's the white flag. One more time. Boy, who's going to be here? Does David have enough to run him down? Or does Mark back there, is he going to be able to come up here, put the bumper to David and take second?
And Mark's done a really great job to make up the ground he has over the last several laps. We saw that he was back about 2.5 or 3 seconds off of these guys. Made up all that time here. Looks like he could at least get second place here. He's been on the back bumper of David as well, just not able to really get beside him yet. So all three of these guys right now are close enough to fight for the lead. And if David gets into Zach, Mark is going to be sitting in a really good spot as long as they don't block the track.
Oh, you can see it right now. I mean, you can start seeing Zach the way he's running, and you can see David is pushing, and here comes Mark to the inside. He peaked for a minute, wasn't able to make that pass, but man, they are all right there nose to tail.
Yeah, big move by David right there, trying to get a good entry to apex the corner. Mark could have forced it and took him out and chose not to and lifted there, but David really pushing through these turns.
Yeah, coming around the final turns here, though, I tell you what, David is trying everything he can to get close enough to Zachary. But Zachary, man, has got it out front here to try to hold off and win this thing, as Mark's lost a little bit of ground to the front, too. And out of the final turn, Zachary Brown is going to win this race here tonight. And David's going to come up home in second. Man, that was a good battle there for the top three guys. Wow.
Yeah, awesome job by those guys up front. Very entertaining also to see, guys like Mark come from behind back of the field here, way behind those guys, make up all that time. But also really cool to see, pretty clean racing, very competitive, rubbing on each other a little bit, not taking each other out. The one time David got into him, he gave him a spot back, but a lot of good racing up front there. That was a lot of fun.
Oh, absolutely it was. And just to show a little bit right here is, and I tell you what, these guys, they did an outstanding job all night long here. And hope we're going to be able to get a talk in with them. Hopefully Zachary and them will jump up in here and get a word maybe with Zach before we jump over to the next server. Folks, don't go anywhere. We're definitely, we'll just throw up a little splash screen here. We'll a few minutes here to see if maybe one of these gentlemen jump in here, or maybe King can yell at one of them and say, hey, jump into the channel here and get a word with our leader, our winner here of the first race tonight.
Yeah, I'll see if I can tell the guys to come over and chat to you, but they'll all be pretty busy just checking what happened with their tires and looking at replays and getting ready for the next race. So,
and if they want to, they can.
Don't hold your breath.
That's cool, no problem. But I tell you what, it was an entertaining race there. And King, appreciate you coming up here, man. Give us some insight on the cars, the leagues, and everything right here. Man, that was good. And I look forward. Like I say, folks, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back here in a few. Got race 2. We're gonna set it up. Top of the hour, 9 o'clock. So it's gonna be about here in another 15 minutes. And stay tuned.
Yeah. Later.
from here, focused on my own way, with never looking back to those who lived in fear. There was nothing I could do, there is nothing you said that could make me realize how much lucky I was. Just out of reach of the fire, was not aware of the nightmare. But when I stopped to see those eyes begging for help, begging for hope, just need to open my eyes now to try to change them to sunshine, to be someone among others. I've got to try. If I bleed tonight, if I am sad tonight, I don't have the time to fight. If I wait tonight, I'm so tired tonight, I'm falling asleep when I'm home. When I'm alone, no place to go, no one I can see through at the side of the light. I can see my life is crap, I have to see them too. I just live into my world, far from the pain, the fear. Was out of reach of the fire, was not aware of the start of hell. But when I stop to see those eyes begging for help, begging for hope, just need to open my eyes now to try to change them to sunshine, to be someone among others. I've got to try. If I bleed tonight, if I am sad tonight, I don't have the time to fight. If I wait tonight, if I'm so tired tonight, I'm falling asleep when I'm home. I was so wrong, I was so blind, I was so dumb and out of time. I was so wrong, I was so blind, I was so If I bleed tonight, if I'm sad tonight, I don't have the time to fight. And if I wait tonight, if I'm so tired tonight, I'm falling asleep when I'm home. here, focused on my own way, with never looking back to those who lived in fear. There was nothing I could do, there was nothing you said that could make me realize how much lucky I was. Just out of reach of the fire, was not aware of the nightmare. But when I stopped to see those eyes begging for help, begging for hope, just need to open my eyes now to try to change them to sunshine, to be someone among others. I've got to try. If I bleed tonight, if I am sad tonight, I don't have the time to fight. If I wake tonight, if I'm so tired tonight, I'm falling asleep when I'm home. When I'm there's no place to go, no one I can see. Who has the time? Never know why. I can see my life is crap. I have to see them too. I just live into my world, far from the pain, the fear. Just out of reach of the fire, was not aware of the start of hell. But when I stop to see those eyes begging for help, begging for hope, just need to open my eyes now to try to change them to sunshine, to be someone among others. I've got to try. If I bleed tonight, if I am sad tonight, I don't have the time to fight. If I wake tonight, if I'm so tired tonight, I'm falling asleep when I'm home. I was so wrong, I was so blind, I was so dumb and out of time. I was so wrong, I was so blind, I was so
All right, folks, welcome back here. We're back at the race tonight here for the majors. Race number 2. Here we go. Get these guys up here and get set because, man, we had an exciting one there. 25 laps here for this one. Wow. Stand and start here. Everybody, appreciate everybody tuning in. And Mark Stevenson going to be on the outside there with David and Daniel. Hey, those guys had a good race last time, so here we go. See what we got here. All right, John, here we go. We're getting set to go green flag. Stand and start. We got a couple guys in the back are spinning some wheels.
Couple
3
guys
wide
didn't
for the
go.
lead.
That's right.
Yeah. Oh, here we go. We call it Tarzan. That's what they call turn 1. It's gonna be a wild one here. Well, Mark, remember he almost won the first one. He says this time I want to be out front.
Yeah, David got a really poor start that time. And now we're banging up front off Daniel Johnson.
Oh, remember Daniel last time went off the track. He was up front. Oh, Mark Stevenson this time. He said, man, get out the way. I'm coming through.
Yeah, just bad timing right there for where he was at in that corner there. Didn't look like anything intentional. Just incidental contact there puts him out in the grass, and it's very difficult here to get your car under control to get back on the track, and then you're trying not to get hit, get back on the track there. So now Daniel's got to come from behind a little.
Zachary Brown, who won the first race here, he's back in third. He just muscled his way to that one past Joshua right there. He's going to try to run down David, and I think what we're seeing right now is what they saw in race one. You've got to make up ground quick because as it gets spread out, it's hard to pass and hard to run these guys down.
Yeah, it's definitely going to affect the tires a lot more. It'll be interesting to see what their lap times are. They made some changes, obviously, or we wouldn't be doing the exact same type thing. It's the same track, but the weather's different. The track temp is up. We've got a very high usage on the track.
See what happened on Gustavo here. Remember, he was up to 7th, but he went around in the back here. He had a little help or anything. He's heading off into the turn. Right, one more time, actually. See what happened to him here. Backside. Well, he just caught the curb and looped it into the looks like the chicane.
Yeah, very easy to do in these cars. They really shift the weight around a lot. So one thing that I felt in doing that, sorry, I was listening in race chat as well. So.
Well, Andrew also crashing too. Let's watch the replay. So we got a little bit of action going on. Oh, overdrove the turn right there. Couldn't get it woed down right in front of Brian, and that that clambered up the field a little bit back there in the back too.
Yeah, really unfortunate. He had a bad first race with that now happening to him again here, but you see these cars are going to be sliding around a lot more, as we were saying. They've made some changes here. You see there's a lot more rubber down on the track, so hot and slick as we see David in second place really power slide that thing around there. And again, these are front wheel drive cars, so not helpful to lose the rear end.
Well, like you said, those three guys back up front again. That's Mark, David, and Zachary. Those three guys were battling it out, and kind of it was a flipped order last time.
Yeah, it really was, and with the way that the conditions were, and as good as Mark's car was, and that it'll be interesting to see if he's the same here, with the track usage being the way it is here. So maybe he's got his car set up, he takes care of his stuff, and we've got a ways to go. They're doing 25 laps. So he came up around, I think it was about lap 16 or 17 is when he really caught up with him and started putting pressure on him here.
Well, Gustavo is just not having a happy day. He hit the curb again in the same turn. Hit that, they're hitting that, looks like they call it the apex here, and they're hitting it, and it's upsetting the rear end of that car, and it's throwing it around, and he has spun twice in that same area.
Yeah, it would, front wheel, you just don't have any control over it. With the front wheel drive, the rear end is just there. So you hit that and you get the rear end around, you've got no way to really try to correct that.
Rob Powers into the wall and almost collected a huge slew of cars. Remember, we got a lot of action over here. Sorry about that. Let's go back on the replay.
A lot of things going on.
Yeah, let's watch Rob right here because he destroyed the front end of that car. Again, Power slid it right into the turn, got in the grass. Next thing you know, boom, right in the wall. But it almost threw him. Oh, and it did throw him in front of another car. And that's a cool damage model right there, too, because the wheel come falling off, and then the wheel went right back on. I know. Let's go watch the replay one more time because I know a couple of NASCAR guys that would love for that to happen in real life. Yeah, he went into the turn a little bit hot. Car just came right out from under. Next thing you know, he just got destroyed in the rear end. The tire comes off, and then boom, right back on. I like that. That's a fast pit crew right there.
Man, we've got a good battle for 10th position. I think it's 10th position. Andrew Hewson fighting it out with Daniel Davis back here. And they were very, very close. The issue was Andrew going into one of the turns there was right under him, but lost the rear end there, so had to back out just a little bit here. But good battle back here in the back. I hate to always just be looking up front to see what's going on.
Wow, there's so much action going on. I mean, these guys are, like you said, with the temperature and the track. I mean, they're slipping and sliding out here, and a lot of guys are going off track right now and towards the back. But wow, it's good racing though.
Yeah, really good battle here. Daniel Johnson takes it to the inside, gets by Robert DeLoach here. So Daniel's starting to make up some of that time that he lost earlier. Back to single file right now. So really good pass in a very tight spot for Daniel. It was a good job, good pass.
Gotta look back here, old Matt, way back, Mark, back in 16th. He's got Ryan Hollick right there along with him. Stevens back there with him. So a lot of good drivers back in the back pack right now. Kind of just everybody single file, but again, with this kind of racing, even though they're close quarter, they can make a pass at any moment.
Yeah, they can, but the one thing that we've seen here, from the start, is a lot of issues. Is they've got a really different track, and you can tell even in the lap times. Now, Mark Stevenson ran a 1:47.4. That's not too far off from what they ran in their previous race. So that's interesting that these guys are able to run these times right now. So, but it tells me that Mark's got a really good car for these conditions here. So the top three guys, top four actually, Josh again, as in the first race, running really good times. He's just not close enough to these guys yet.
If you're David, you got to be looking at the back of your mind thinking, going, what in the world do I got to do to pull a win off here? Wasn't I in the same position before? And he's back at it again now. I mean, I know it's real early, and he's got a lot of time here to make up. Remember, we're going to have at least about another 3 more laps than what these guys had last time. That could be huge towards the end because you saw David close in. Remember tire wear. I think they take care of the cars a lot earlier this time around, which, I mean, I would. I'm going to say they won't, but I would, because you got to know that in the back of your mind. I've got 3 more laps than what I had last time.
Yeah, and I think that's what we see Zachary Brown doing in third position here. Joshua sitting back here in fourth, kind of doing the same thing. This time Josh is not letting them get so far away. I mean, he's right there within viewing distance of them. He can see them. They're not that far. So he's keeping them right in his sights here. So I think he's trying to keep his pace up and not get as far behind as he did last time. I think Josh could have been up there with him as well. So taking good care of your stuff here is going to matter, because right now we've got a hot, slick, used-up track.
And the biggest thing, too, is you notice with these being front-wheel drive cars, you've already seen a couple of them. They talk about enter and exit of the turns, but, coming on and off the apexes, the rumble strips, very much so can be a problem with these cars. We've seen it, but right now the battle's heating up for second and third there, because, like you said, you don't have a lot of weight in the rear, and there's not much you can do. All the weight sitting on the front of these things, and it don't take much to kick them out sideways.
Yeah, you see Zach Brown right now putting a lot of pressure on David. Looks like he's going to shoot to the inside, force the issue here to turn. He slides up. I knew that was going to happen. I told you, going in high.
Wow.
Really forced it right there. But, I mean, really, that's the kind of stuff that you're going to see some of these guys do to get up there, establish that position, because when Zach was in front of David in the previous race, David couldn't get around him. The only way that he could have got around him was to pull a move like that. So maybe in David's little memory bank now, you file that away and say, okay, he wanted to do that on lap 6, so on lap 25, I'm going to repay the favor.
Well, I tell you what, old Jeff back here, Cardman, I hope I said that right. You want to talk about a send it move? He went to the inside, didn't pay off because he went door to door, and he paid the price and spun around.
Yeah, you got a really hot, slick track like this. There's only so much sending that you can do. I mean, really, with what Zach did, had there not been a car to bounce off of, we just seen him up in the grass there. So, really tough move to make. I don't want to say it wasn't smart, because it worked and it paid off and nobody really got torn up. But it would have agitated me had it happened to me.
Well, yeah, anytime you get hit, Rob Powers kind of power slides in and turn. I think what we're seeing right now is a lot of guys, you know, their braking points are a little bit off. They're going in just a little bit, you know, hotter onto the turns, where before they were able to do that earlier with, you know, a little cooler track. Now, like you said, a little hotter and slicker, not able to drive in. Remember we saw David in that first race. He was driving it in hard. Now he's going to have to readjust a little bit here. And I think the way that Zachary and him was racing in the first race, this track here actually might, you know, pay dividends for them, because remember, he was easing it into those turns.
It was, and you know, we're going to see, as we have now since Zach has made the pass, a little less aggressiveness through some of these turns.
Unless David
than when
gets
he was
up our two.
behind David. Unless he gets to him. But I think that was Zach's whole point here, was let me go on and force the issue, get ahead of you, and see what kind of pace I can set. And are you going to push the issue or not? And so far, David's been pretty content just riding behind him. But I think we're going to see David maybe get a shot at him. As takes a little peek at him right here, but he's not really close enough. Really sharp inside cut there by David. Going to take that position almost. Yes, he gets it.
Yeah, those two, man, are going to be back to back here. Wow. Nose to tail right now. And I think that's what the norm's going to be. Those two are going to, you know, swap positions to see what they got. Zachary right back on his back bumper again. But you know who's loving it? Mark out front.
He definitely is. Looked like Zach just overdrove the corner there just a little bit. Lost the nose. It goes up the track. David takes advantage of it. Or at least that's what it appeared to be. Maybe Zach doesn't want to be in front of David right now after what happened. He knows he's got the speed to get there. Maybe he said to himself, I'll ride back here. We'll catch up. And I don't want you hitting me.
Test the waters just a little bit, so to speak, there.
Yeah.
Maybe
it
for
may
later
have been
on.
by design.
Yeah, maybe later on there. So good racing so far throughout the field here. You got Joshua hanging on there to 4th, Daniel Johnson up to 5th. And Gerald right there, he's up to 6th. Robert to 7th. Andrew up to 8th. Dan to 9th. And Robert rounds the top 10. Racing throughout here. I tell you what, Lucas back there in 12th. I don't know if he can get a shot. That paint job he's got, that's kind of nice. That's he's using that chrome effect that they got on iRacing now.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of that as long as it looks good. I can't stand it when people are just like, here's chrome.
Yeah, well, yeah, you can overdo it a little bit. And it looks kind of cool. It's got like silhouette tile stripes down the side of it.
Yeah, it's nice. The little cool effect iRacing's adding a lot of things here to, you know, get people interested, keep you interested, you know, get more traction. And, you know, paints are a big deal for people. And then we saw
He's got
today.
a good name on the side of it there too, John. He's got
it
Joe's.
says, yeah, it's Joe's. Yeah.
Yeah. I had to throw that out. So. Well, I tell you, you speak of iRacing, today was a huge day for iRacing.com, folks. If you don't know, go check out iRacing.com, and that's what we're on, you know, the simulator here tonight, the virtual world of iRacing. I always say it's the realest thing without spending millions of dollars to go real racing. Well, today was a leap forward for it. The major series in particular, you know, is a huge series. But today, NASCAR had a huge race on Fox Sports with iRacing. Pretty much a who's who of NASCAR drivers, real NASCAR drivers that is, race at the virtual Homestead Speedway today. So they did that because obviously with the coronavirus and all that that's going on, I hope everybody's staying safe out there with that. When they're going out there, they postponed a lot of the sports. NASCAR is sanctioned with iRacing.com, put on this huge event, and probably will have several other ones, but I won't say it's not the first nationally televised, but it's the first major televised event with pro drivers on iRacing to that magnitude, let's say it that way. That it was just cool spectacle, and it's really huge. It's probably gonna, it gets the word out there to people. I know there's still critics out there, John, that go, well, it's a game. Okay, fair enough. But like I said, it's a simulator, and it's the realest thing. They use it in flight. They use it in pilots. They use it in, astronauts, all kinds of simulators. So there we go. It was a huge step forward for iRacing.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the race. The first, 25 or 30 laps of it, I don't think anybody was ecstatic over it, but it actually wound up to be a really good race. I think showcased everything about iRacing and what it can offer to people, and it can be a lot of fun and interesting. And that was the whole point of the day, is just get together as a racing community, and everybody, every country right now is being affected in some way, shape, or form. However you feel about what's going on, or politics, you throw all that crap out the window, and let's just watch a race and watch the guys that do this for a living try it out on iRacing. And some of those guys are really good at it, and some had a rough time, like Jimmy Johnson.
Oh yeah, well, and you're going to see it. Well, not only that too, since we're on the road racing side of things here tonight, we definitely got to give love there. The IMSA series is a sponsored series by iRacing.com, along with the NASCAR side of things. So they are the title sponsor for the road side of stuff. They had a major race yesterday, and I believe it was televised, if I'm not mistaken. And I could be wrong. I could look it up here in just a second. But they had a who's who of road racers in it. And that is awesome, too, that IMSA stepped up and probably is going to have several of them. Because, not only NASCAR sports, NBA and all those others, but, the road side of things are affected with it. And they had a huge showing and outing for their cars, too. So it's great to see the road guys get in there. I think what's next here, John, maybe we're going to see some Formula One, because, hey, we do got Indy cars. We do got Formula One cars here on iRacing. And, right now we're seeing, we've got the Audi cars on here. So we have a host of stuff. I mean, folks, if you like racing, hey, this is an alternative. Sure, it might not be real, but it is an alternative. And you already saw we've had some exciting runs there in the first race. It can get exciting.
Well, it's the closest thing to reality that you're going to get with laser scan tracks and cars and everything that iRacing has to offer. And, everything from your local, Legends car races to Cup racing to, big Daytona prototypes. I mean, there's everything that you can think of right now besides, monster trucks and NHRA. But people even do drag racing, in certain cars in pit areas at tracks. So it's a lot of things that people do to be really creative on the service. And iRacing has done a terrific job. And of course, the guys with what they put together today, I thought was just awesome. And it was really cool to see everybody out there just having fun. So hopefully get some traction with that and get some more people on here that are serious about it and want to come and do things like this, like here at the majors. These guys, super serious racers, different disciplines of racing. Some of these guys are really good at road. Some of them are better oval drivers. Some of them might really just love dirt. But the great thing about the majors series is they have a little bit of something for everybody, and it keeps it interesting. You're not just out there running the same cars all the time. It's different cars, different tracks, different racing disciplines, different styles of racing. So keeps it fresh and keeps it interesting. So, just part of the reason why, if you're looking for something to do and you like racing, if you're not on iRacing, you're really missing out.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. Good race up front. There's Mark still holding off David. And just real quick, off that IMSA race yesterday, it was 46 drivers there, a lot of the GTE, GT3 style cars. But the BMW guys there, they sweep the IMSA Sebring for Saturday on iRacing is what it was. It was the BMW's factory drivers were in the race there. I love the BMW. I've always been partial to their GT3, GTE car, and that M8 car is an awesome one. It used to be the M6 there at one time, and then back with the M1, I believe it was, or M2 back in the day. But yeah, Again, just to reiterate, folks, I'm gonna tell you, it's awesome to see what we're doing, and tonight's race, man, brings about some good racing here too. The Major Series, I've spoken of it. Check them out at thepacificmajors.com. Check out what they've got going on. They've got a lot of host of racing. We're in the Sportsman Series right now, and these guys right here in the Sportsman Series, you're going to see some fantastic racing with them throughout the year here. We've already seen some good ones so far in and out. Yes, they have a Pro Series, and it's like King said earlier, they might be a little bit faster, but these guys in the Sportsman here, I think, bring about some pretty exciting racing.
Yeah, they definitely do. We've paid a lot of attention to the guys up front here. Man, I want to give a call to Andrew Hewson. He started 15th on the grid, right now currently running 8th, fighting for that 7th position. I've been watching him now for about the last 2 laps, and he is very, very close to 7th place here, having a fight with Robert DeLoach in front of him, who's part of that Forge team with Stevenson and Brown, who are 1 and 3 position right now. But Houston coming from 15th to 8th right now. Really good battle for 7th. Gets a run on DeLoach here and there, and then he has to give it up. But looks like he's going to come back on him here. They're coming down the front stretch, coming across the line. And this is where you're going to see Houston really catch up to DeLoach as they start coming into these turns here.
Oh, Zachary Brown off the track. Also, but you're right, Andrew right there is going to look like he's on track. Let's go see. Zachary Brown, who was actually in 3rd place. Let's see, it shows him, said he went off track. Go on a replay real quick, because he was a 3rd place runner. Definitely going to make some time up right there. It's coming across on the line. I'm going to say it's got to be in turn 1 here. Watching real quick. Heads off in turn 1.
It couldn't have been
oh, yeah, there it is.
much.
Well, it wasn't too much. Now, what happened was he came out of turn 1. When he came out, it just showed he went up into the sand a little bit there. So kind of just overdrove the turn coming out of it.
Yeah, so I was going back and looking at him like he's still in 3rd and he's right on him, so it couldn't have been much.
Yeah, he just overdrove a little bit. It'll actually show me if he goes off track or back on, so... Tell you what, David's holding tough right there at the top, but you're right, Andrew back there in 7th. Man, he's working over Robert, trying to get that spot away from him. He's got a Wolfpack eSports, and that's another thing. Talk about some of the teams here, and speaking of teams, let's just flip up some of them, because you got, out front, Forged Gold, and then you got, in 3rd, Forged Silver. I don't get the difference between the gold and the silver. Maybe it's the same team and they just split them up.
Price.
Oh, it's the price. Oh, okay. I got that. Well, yeah. That makes sense. Right now, it's the difference between 1st and 3rd, but boy, Andrew's trying to give it all he can right there. About overdrove that turn.
Well, it looked like he was trying to go to the top side, the outside. What would have been on Robert DeLoach, and DeLoach kind of just went mid-track and took away everything, so Andrew couldn't drive it in hard, or he couldn't go in on the...
Absolutely. Well, I'm going to tell you, I got to give a shout-out to these Audi cars. Things look pretty neat. I like the way they look.
Yeah, it's pretty fun to drive, actually. When I saw that that's what they were going to drive, I was like... As a matter of fact, I didn't even have the car. I had to purchase it. And so I bought it, and I went, found me a paint for it, and I started doing some laps in it, and I'm like, wow, I know I'm really slow. And so finally started speeding it up a little bit and just made a couple changes. And I was like, this is going to be interesting, being a front wheel drive. I've never done anything like that. So, but it turns out it's actually pretty interesting. It was very fun to drive, actually.
Yeah, nice sporty looking machine out there. I do like that, but good battle still here for 7th. Andrew's trying everything he can to maybe try to see if he can't get up there to Robert. I think he's just been a little patient. We're at lap 14 here. Remember, with another lap, there'll be 10 to go, but it's still an eternity around this place. A long way to go. Now, Biggest difference between race 1 and race 2 here is they'll have 3 more laps, and you know that's a lot on on a road side of things. You know, you might talk about oval side of stuff and you're like, oh, that's only 3 laps. Here, that is huge because that you can drop a lot of positions.
Yeah, you can. There's a little bit of difference in the track. We're seeing about a 1.5 second on time difference now from where they were last time, and we're about lap 15, which is where John King was telling us, is when the tires, we're going to start seeing some fall off. So this is where we're going to start seeing who's taking care of their stuff and who's done what. But again, as into the first race, we see David right on the back bumper of the leader. I'm sorry, I'll get it out in a minute, but it's right on him here. And are we going to see David be a little more aggressive this time and maybe a little less patient? He was trying to be patient the first race. It didn't quite work out for him. So see if he can't be a little more aggressive here, maybe dive it in on these guys. Mark's not the one that dive bombed him, but he wants to pay somebody back.
True. And he wants to win. He sit there in second. He was patient, like you said, the first race, and he kind of hung on there on second place. But, yeah, he's all over the leader right now. If he can get a run on Mark, we'll have to see what happens. And Michael out there, how you doing? Yeah, I was watching that battle there for 7th. That was Andrew. Is looking very good, and actually a very good run.
And David's 10th faster, really goes in deep down into one in the right-hander here. Gets a good little launch off there. So, a 10th faster, in a minute 48.5 seconds. Not that much, obviously, because there's so much can happen here in every turn. You always lose a little or take a little. So, still within striking distance.
Contact back here. I was watching this battle back here with Lucas and them. And those guys were back there doing a lot of blocking. And Maurice, I'm going to say is his name, paid the price. He was there and he went down for a block. Lucas was on the inside. He cut it. Boom, contact. He went spinning off the track.
Yeah, blocking is never something that you really want to do. It's one of those things that
there,
can
all over the track,
get you turned real fast. Yeah.
Yeah, they were wild racing going on. I was watching those 3 back there because Ernie Ludwig back there, he was all over the back end of Lucas, and then Lucas was trying to get around Maurice right there, and just didn't work out. 2 or 3 cars trying to take the same real estate. Always said that before. So it was a good racing throughout the field so far.
Yeah, we're 16 laps in here to this 25 lapper. Also want to give it Robert Covey, started 18th, running 9th right now. So he's made up a ton of spots as well as Andrew has. So those are our top movers of the race right now. They're running 8th and 9th. Still got a ways to go.
Too, ain't it?
Robert has, I think it's Tim Hortons on it.
Oh, okay. I don't know who that is. Is that a restaurant?
I think it's a restaurant.
All right, good eat.
We don't have nothing like that here in Martinsville, Virginia. So
I'll tell you what, go behind them. I'm gonna tell you what, Ernie's not done with Lucas right now. He's working over the back end of him.
Yeah, I think back here what you've got is you're just going to see a little bit of frustration because, these guys are still fighting hard. They're still trying to get all the spots they can, but they're also trying to play catch-up. But you see Lucas really goes wide into the turn right there. So these guys probably a little frustrated with each other. Who knows what's going to happen. But when you're back there trying to catch up and make up some spots here, the last thing you want are people trying to block you or make life tougher than it already is.
Well, Ernie wants 10th. Lucas has got it. Lucas is trying and it looks like Lucas is just overdriving the car right now. He's just driving that thing hard. You can see his entry and exits out of turns, not 100% there. And I think right now he's just basically, I've mentioned it before, a guy behind you that close, if you're mirror driving, it definitely can throw off your points and on the track.
It's really distracting thing to do. Oval racing, I can mirror drive like a pro. But if you put me on a road course, I have got to pay attention. I've got to be able to hit my marks. So this is definitely something that it takes a while to master. And, while I'm still learning and I've been working on a lot this week and been in some really good races for it. So it made me appreciate what that guys can do on the road a whole lot more, because especially when you're in battle with people and you got a couple cars around you, man, you've really got to be on your game and pay attention, but also able to take care of your stuff like we see some of these guys do. Is Robert Deloach running in 7th place has been able to pull away from Andrew. Robert's lap times have just consistently been better as Andrews has started to fall off now.
And the biggest thing too is you watch, like it was this battle here with Ernie and Lucas. You see, we're riding here with with Ernie, and you see how close he is. And in road racing, I want to point out too, you don't want to. Well, I don't say they don't do it, but you don't really want to be right on the back bumper, because braking points are different from anybody. And in oval, you can be right there on the back end and kind of get away with it. Here, braking points at the inner and exit of the turns, you can run up on the back end, but you see the difference between those two. That is a good optimal position for him to just do a slingshot right by him and be able to make the pass. In oval, we would probably be like, me and you, John, would be like, well, he needs to close that gap up tremendously. Here in road racing, though, that's beautiful, because that's a braking distance.
It is, but it's also, I think, the same as it is for us on the oval side. When I really get up on a guy and you don't see me passing him, or you see it on TV, with the pros, and they're not trying to pass, they're just trying to get in your head. I want you to overdrive the corner so that I can take advantage of you that way. And so it's the same thing here a little bit. A guy's like, man, you don't know where I'm braking. It gets in your head. Can it make you overdrive the car, miss your corner, make you, lose the front end, you go high, the guy slides underneath you. So it's a little bit of a mind game at the same time.
Yeah, and I was always, on the road side anyways, I was always scared to get up on the back bumper of another car in front of him, because I was scared to, if he actually, broke too hard in a turn, I was going to run him over.
Yeah, and you see that just happened. Lucas missed the entry to the turn there, went way high, and allowed Ernie to catch up to him there. But see if he can't do anything with the little bit of time he's been able to make up here. I mean, you've got to hit all these turns perfectly, and you've got big sweeping turns with a lot of speed, as they're in right now, carrying about 120 miles an hour through here, and then you've got these corners here where you're down to 40. So it's a very technical track, and you've got to hit everything perfectly. So allows for these guys to make up a ton of time if you really mess up one or two corners.
And I just said it right there, the distance between them, and you saw it. Ernie was able to get right beside him almost just by one little bobble by Lucas in front. So very good battle, and I got to look in the rearview mirror. I got Brian Hollick back there coming up on him. That's a good battle happening back over 9th and 10th. I'm noticing something up front here, though. Mark is stretching that lead out.
And this is the point in this race, as we saw in the previous race, even though the track is very different, Mark really came on strong towards the last few laps of the race. That's obviously got a good set for what he's doing here. So doing the same thing, just being really smooth here. I haven't seen Mark make a lot of mistakes. We've seen a little bit of the same thing out of David, losing the rear end a little bit, just trying to be super aggressive and forcing the car into some corners here and make you lose a lot of time that way, because you just have to catch the rear end of these cars. There's nothing you can do with the throttle like you can do with a big V8 that's got rear wheel drive. So you have to just slow up, catch the rear end, and go. But Mark Stevens has done a terrific job in both races, but especially here to be able to manage himself and his tires to still be fast. I mean, he turned to 148.7, so we're seeing some fall off, but doing a great job up front. And David's still in the middle of this sandwich as he was in the previous race.
Yeah, it is, and I tell you what, another battle heating up on the track here. You talked about Andrew back there in the 8th. He has fallen off the pace, and now he's got Robert to deal with.
Yeah, Robert Covey. These are our two drivers that have made up the most positions in this race right here. Little battle here for 8th place. So Robert's done a really good job. Robert was actually really far back and has made his way up here to catch Andrew. So Andrew's going to be under a lot of pressure here because we ran 22 laps before. Like as you said, we're running 25. So we've still got 5 laps to go, and that's a long way if you're Andrew right now and your tires are starting to fall off.
It is, and he's got Robert right there behind him, and you go behind them. We was talking about that battle earlier between Lucas and Ernie. Now they've got Brian up on them also, so it's a 3-car battle. Ernie's still trying to figure out a way around them. Our leader out front, Mark, he has extended his lead by 1.1 second over David, and Zachary Brown. He's the one that looks like he's closing in again on the second place runner.
Yeah, really on his bumper through the turns there. Still up close to him here, just 2 car lengths off right.
Yeah, I think those two are about to have a battle for the second. I think David has used up the tires here. Man, and this is what we saw last race. Zachary, towards the end of it, was able to walk away from David.
Yeah, and David was 5/10 slower the previous lap. As I was saying earlier, just sliding around a little bit. As you see, he goes in a little high there, but nothing too terrible. But it makes me wonder if his front tires aren't giving up on him a little bit.
Yeah, because it brings Zachary right there behind him. So check back what's happening back here with Andrew and Robert again. Those two are still nose to tail, along with Lucas and Ernie back there. So some good battling throughout the whole entire field. Got a battle for second, third, here to about 8th and 9th and 10th and 11th.
Yeah, I thought we would see a little more of that this race with the track being a little different here in the fall off. But what's going to be interesting is if Zachary Brown gets up here next to David again, does he send it again? or did he use that one shot up at it, As you see, David protecting the inside here.
Hey, what's up, Dan? How you doing out there? Or Dan D, how's that? How you doing? What's going on? Welcome out there. I tell you what, it's a good race so far. We're getting to the closing laps, and man, Ernie puts it on the inside. He's going for that pass on Lucas out of the last turn. That would probably be a passing zone. It'd be a drag race to the line, and I think Ernie's going to hold on to 10th. They're 3 wide in the turn.
3 wide. That can't
Wow.
work. You see, very smart to back.
But man, well, Brian thought he had an opening. He put that thing in the middle. that was crazy.
Yeah, good move on Lucas's part there to say no and back out and just slide right in position to where he is right now.
Well, you still got a 3-car, and look at Lucas, boy. He overdrove that turn, almost let Brian come up on the back end. Woo! You don't think these guys ain't driving these cars hard. Now it's to the point where you know, okay, look, last race ended now. I still got 3 more to go.
Yeah, I mean, this is for 10th place. So it's not, these guys they're wanting to battle all over the place. And the previous race, there was a lot more spread out. We saw a great battle for the lead. We're seeing a good battle for second place up there. But, man, these guys, the 3 wide into the sharpest corner on the track was a little crazy.
And so far, you've got Lucas trying to hang on to that spot over Brian. In the meantime, Ernie, he's moving away. Like I say, by being out front, so good battle there. See, Robert's still working over Andrew there for 8th and 9th. As Mark is still stretching out that lead. Zach still trying to see if he can't get around David. Oh, wait a minute. Here comes Robert. He tried the outside. Not going to work. I think the outside. We've seen a couple drivers try that in turn one. I just don't think it's going to work.
No, it definitely doesn't work. There's not enough grip up there. I mean, of course, there's a little bit of banking in there, but you're not going to be able to get the drive off. Preferred line is the inside. The only way you're going to pull that off is if the guy on the inside, really overdrives and loses the rear end, but then he's just going to come up and slap you. So you've got to control your car. But see, great battle still between Andrew and Robert back here for 8th place, and Robert's right on his bumper here. Looks to the outside, slide back in behind him here. We're gonna have 2 to go.
Yeah, he's trying everything he can to get around him there. He thought about pinching that thing on the inside. He's got him this time. Nope, gonna put him on the outside though.
And up front, Mark Stevenson just drove away from these guys. David's in second now with a decent amount of breathing room to Zachary Brown. So Zach losing some ground to David at some point as we were checking out the action from those guys running back.
Yeah, the top 3 guys kind of all spread out a little bit, single file. So.
Oh, and Zach's off the track. Gets back on.
Yep, saw that. So slowed him up a little bit. Gonna still maintain 3rd place here. Like I say, they're about split up. So watching this good race back here with Robert and Andrew, and right behind them you've got Lucas. It looks like they're splitting it up just a little bit back there in themselves. Mark Stevenson's loving everything he's seeing here tonight.
Yeah, I mean, barring some crazy thing, I think Mark will be just fine. So Zach's just really trying to get to that second spot there, but I think David's got the better car, better tires now. I think maybe Zach pushed it a little too hard there in the beginning, and of course we've run more laps, so that's to be expected. You're going to wear your tires out some more, so maybe went a little too hard, a little too fast. But I think the closest best battle we're going to see is back here in the 8th and 9th position right now.
Yeah, Robert, he's still trying to work over Andrew right now. We should be coming up here on the white flag. Now, what does Robert got to do to get around him right now?
Well, he needs Andrew to mess up, and he's right on his bumper there. So Andrew just needs to be looking out the windshield, not so much mirror driving here. For one more lap, he's got to hit everything perfect. Come out of here with an 8th place finish would be great. From starting 15th on the grid. And both these guys have done a great job. As you see him diving to the inside, he pushes him up the track.
Is he going to take that position from him? Yeah, well, that's probably the only move. A lot of drivers be like, that's just dirty. But to me, that's about the only move I could see him doing. And now he's in the wall. Wow, you want to talk about a turn of events. He got around him finally, and then he just stuffed in the wall himself. Maybe he got excited there for a minute.
Himself, but I feel like that was more of a sportsmanship thing, because Robert actually slowed down when he pushed Andrew up the track instead of just speeding away. It was like he was slowing down to give Andrew his spot back. And so I think that may have been his way of giving it back.
Running into the wall.
I don't think he meant to run into the wall. I think he meant to slow down and get the grass. I think he ended up, jacking himself up a little bit more than he wanted to. But I do think it had something to do with sportsmanship, because he realized that what he did was a little much.
And it was a move he tried. I mean, he definitely had to go for it there. It's a passing zone into turn 1. So, but out of the final turn, Mark Stevenson is going to pull it off here tonight. Race 2 here for the Sportsman Series here at the Majors. David's going to come home in second. Zachary Brown, pretty much a flipped order what they were in the first race, but What a finish there between those three guys. Wow, what a race.
Yeah, and a really good race through the field as we've seen. This one was a lot closer throughout. Not just having everybody stretched out. We had a great battle for the lead in the previous race. Had a good battle this time. In different places throughout the field. So, really good job with these cars, man. These cars it's not easy. This is not an easy thing to do. I tried it, so I'm pretty impressed by what these guys have been able to pull off here.
Well, folks, I tell you what, I hope you enjoyed that. It was awesome. 2-race series here tonight from Danford. Is that right?
That's correct.
All right, good deal. Speedway here from the Netherlands, man. I tell you what, the Majors 2020 Sportsman Series, that man, race winner 2, Mark Stevenson, a good outing for him. I had fun here, John. I mean, you got any final words for these folks? I mean, it was a fun race here for these two, and got somebody up in the interview room though. That might actually be David up here. Drag him down here and see if we can get a word for him. Is this David?
Yep.
Joe at the booth.
Hey, how's it going, Joe?
Man, I tell you what. Well, hey, look. Well, we got to ask the question: how frustrated is it to finish second in both races?
Well, I did. I got the win last week, and I was coming off a little bit of momentum for this week, and did some practicing, set some good lap times. But ultimately, it's when you make one mistake in the race and the other guys don't make any mistakes really, or nothing really too major. That's what kind of threw me off there. But we powered through. We got second place twice in a row. I don't know where that puts us in points as far as those two go, but we'll see.
Well, it definitely was interesting there, and a great race between you and Zachary up front. Me and John was talking about it here all race long. How difficult is it with these cars? I mean, they're front-wheel drive, and it looks like the rear ends were sliding around. What was the major difference between race 1 and race 2 track-wise?
Well, as far as the track goes, the track felt maybe a little bit slicker and on the second time around there. But as far as the racing goes, I mean, it was really just the flip-flopped race. It was either me battling Zach or me battling Mark, and it was either battling for first, second, or third, and it was kind of just it was pretty hectic. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, you come home in second here, both races tonight. Got anybody you want to shout out?
Yep, just got a shout out to my sponsors, the Big Cheese and Pub and Kaylee Sweet Creations. I know my girlfriend was watching the broadcast, so shout out to her. She's at home. So thank you, Joe, and thank you, John.
I'll tell you what, it was an awesome race tonight there. Congratulations on the second places. All right, well, I'll tell you what, we got a couple other guys up here too. We actually got Zachary Brown. I don't know, John, you want to get a word with him?
Yeah.
All right, let's bring him down. Zachary.
Hey.
Well, Zach, tell us about your race, man. You had a great first race. Pretty good race this one here. Tell us a little bit about it. What were the differences there? And what was the deal with the dive bomb?
Well, the first race, I think the major difference between both of the races were definitely the track temperatures. The hotter track temperature definitely had an entirely different race feel towards it, especially on the long downhill section. The dive bomb was me focusing too much on the person beside me and not too much on my braking point. We were fine with it. We talked a little bit about it like mature men, and it's just one of those racing things where it just happens. People get competitive and you focus on the wrong thing, and one little thing gets missed, and next thing you know, you're braking 10 meters later than you should have.
Oh, absolutely. I've tried this road racing deal, and I'm still trying to figure out how to brake correctly. So I don't know how you guys kept it together right there, but I was like, wow. I was like, you really went after it right there. So I didn't know if the plan was you wanted to go and get ahead of him and start trying to keep up with Mark, because Mark had a really strong car at the last race. We saw it come on after about about the 15th or 16th lap. So knowing that we had more laps this go around, I was expecting to see Mark probably have a strong car this go around as well, and he did. And so, but I mean, how much do you two work together? You know, with your setups, and were you expecting the fall off to be what it was in this race as compared to the other?
Well, I mean, our entire team works together with our setup, so it's a pretty big group project, which surprisingly somehow works together. We were communicating. Mostly, he was just telling me to try to catch up to Daniel for the first half of the race, because if me and Daniel started racing, it gave him a lot of opportunity to just weasel his way out of the draft. But this longer race with the hotter track and more worn tires were definitely an interesting game to play, especially around lap 20 when I felt the wheels were really starting to fall off. I mean, I think Daniel started falling off a lot before me, but it's just it wasn't enough for me to get by him on that one attack down the front stretch, and he managed to hold me off.
Well, you had a great night of racing here. You had a first place, you got a third place. So before we let you go, you got anybody else you want to thank?
Definitely thanking all of my teammates, especially Brian and Chris, who are pretty much our mechanic jockeys of the team. They handle most of the setups and the paint jobs as well. So I gotta give a huge thanks to them, because without them, there's no way Forge could be as competitive as what it is.
All right, Zach, sounds good, man. Congratulations on your win. Congratulations on third in this race. You guys put on a heck of a show, man. We really enjoyed watching it. It'll be a lot of fun for you to go back and watch. If you just hit the mute button, you'll be...
Oh, yeah, I plan to watch the entire thing start to end. Thanks, John.
All right, thanks, buddy. Have a good one.
You too.
Go, man. An outstanding run by Zachary Brown in the first and second race with this guy. He had a good one here. Mark Stevenson. Mark, Joe White in the booth, got a copy?
Yeah, I'm here.
Well, I tell you what, your first race was a good one. The second one was even better there. Let us know a little bit of what was the difference between the two there for you?
A bad start and a good start. The first race, I just spun my tires a little bit too much and fell behind and made some errors and got into Daniel there a couple laps in where, I don't know, I think I had that position. I think I had the right to be inside him, and he wanted to go across my quarter panel, and that's his decision. But that dropped me back, and I had to crawl my way back to David on the first race, and there was no way I was getting by him. I think we were just so close, and I honestly think David had the quicker car tonight. He was able to pull off 2 second places, but it's just so hard to pass here.
Well, that's what we were seeing too.
Yeah, it's so tight and twisty. I did notice a couple places where Dave was quicker than me. Just coming down the downhills, the downhill right-hander and into the chicane, he would just click into me about a tenth or two. And then I think he was getting on my bumper and just not anticipating how I was driving the next corner. So I'd just pull away a little bit. But it was just an awesome couple of races. I was actually dreading this race, but it turned out really well.
Oh, absolutely. Like you said, third, first on the second. Definitely a good night for you there. And showcased. It looked like once you got out front there, that's the place to be, kind of run your own race. But man, I tell you what, it was fun and exciting. we loved it. Normally you don't see as much contact when it comes to road racing, but y'all guys put on a fantastic show. Pulled off the victory here tonight. Got anybody you want to thank for it?
The team's great. Thanks to Zach for pulling off that win in the first race. He crawled his way up to the front and just capitalized on everything. And obviously the entire team. Adam, Chris, Eric, Rob, Brian, Dan, Greg, Steve, Zach, Dakota, Nick, and Ron. They're all great guys. And my roommate, who keeps my dogs at bay so they don't bug me while I'm racing. So thanks to him too.
Gotta always love that, man. I tell you what, good run for you tonight. Then again, congratulations on that win here in the second race there, Mark.
Thank you very much.
All right, there you go. Well, I'll tell you what, John, what a race, man. What an event. That was actually thrilling for the two races here tonight, but I believe we go oval racing here next for the major series, but we're going to leave here tonight, man. John, I had fun.
I think it was a great race. To have same track with two different elements to race in. Much more difficult track, the second go around here, but we saw, the same 3-4 guys up front able to, combat that and put on a good show here. And saw some guys, make up a lot of spots here, like Andrew and Robert did, finishing 8th and 9th. So both races were extremely entertaining. Very cool to see, they do things like this, especially with this car, because it's just crazy to drive. If you have iRacing and you haven't tried it, you should, because I did it and I thought it was fun just to practice with. But great job by these guys at the majors once again, to put on a good show here, and looking forward to the next one. And then pretty soon we've got some dirt coming up, so I'm stoked about that. So I love watching these majors races, because they put a lot of thought and effort into what they do here. It never disappoints.
You're absolutely right. So we're going to leave here for Zendervoot. Is that right? Speedway?
No, that was completely wrong.
Zender.
That was the most jacked up you said it all night.
Zendervoort. There we go.
Zandvoort.
Look, folks, all right. You got to give me a little credit here. I'm trying on it, okay? But hey, what a race here from the Netherlands with these guys here for the Majors 2020 Sportsman Series. And my hat's off to all the drivers out there. Great racing for myself and John and everybody here at the Majors. Everyone have a good night.